Welcome to this EdTech demonstrator video. My name is Richard Kendall and I'm an assistant head teacher at Chorney High School for Girls. I'm also an EdTech demonstrator and part of a team looking to improve the EdTech delivery and support to schools around the southeast of England. This video should help you understand how I use EdTech apps and software and in line with using Rosenshine's principles of practice. During this video, I will talk about one area of Rosenshine's principles of instruction. If this is very new to you, it's worth doing a Google search on Rosenshine's principles to get a good understanding of what this video is all about. I'm going to be focusing on one area, and that is area number 7. Obtaining a high success rate in your classrooms, which I'm sure we can all agree is one of our principal and fundamental targets when we go and teach. So you can see that I've got a screenshot here of the principles of instructions in its entirety. You can see there are 10 instructions to help you use and be effective in the classroom. The instructions through my research of Rosenshine is that you use 2-3 of these instructions to help you plan, assess your children in your classroom. So I'm going to be focusing on number 7, obtaining a high success rate. Obtaining a high success rate is one of the fundamental and kind of dreams that we all have as teachers. A success rate of around 80% has been found to be the optimal number in showing students are learning and also being challenged at the same time. Better teachers teach in small steps followed by practice. And that is what I'm going to be focusing on today. How to teach in small steps and how to back it up by using EdTech apps and software and pedagogy. A high success rate in questioning and practicing is important. Rosenshine suggests that optimum 80%. So that's the figure we need to try and focus on. It's not 95, it's not 100, it's not 70, because that's perceived to be too low. But I want to err of caution here. Let's not be held to the 80% all the time. 79%, 78% is okay. We don't need to always hit that 80%, but 70% would be judged as being too low. I'm going to go through a bit of research to help you understand the Rosenshine principle in as quick a time as I can, and then I'm going to look at how I implement this in the classroom with my EdTech pedagogy. So research finds that students in classroom with more effective teachers have higher success rates. This is judged by the quality of their oral responses during guided practice and in their individual work. A high success rate during guided practice also leads to high success rates when working at home. I use this in my classroom as both oral, written, and through using EdTech software. So it is a multiple of avenues to hit that response. If what we can do in the classroom is successful at that 80%, then when students are working at home, they tend to replicate that high level of response back to the teacher, and especially during remote times, that's ever more important. So the 80% is the key figure here for Rosenshine and the research behind it. It's about effective teachers teaching in small steps, combining short presentations with supervised student practice. Now, a word of caution here. Under the remote learning, that supervised student practice isn't always available to us. So we do have to be a bit flexible here to make it work for us. So that practice comes at home remotely. And I'm going to share with you 3 apps that I use on a regular basis to help my own teaching understand how and where my students are. I do not want my students not hitting that 80%. Practice, we are told, makes perfect, but practice can be a disaster if students are practicing errors. If the practice does not have a high success level, there's a chance then that practicing has led to the learning and mastering of errors. Once errors have been learned, they are very difficult to overcome. Providing guided practice helps children master the learning that we want to give over. I know from my classroom practice, it's about removing and limiting the development of misconceptions, because ultimately they're going to be placed in an exam hall under those pressurized constraints of an exam. And if there are errors in their misconceptions through their course, through teaching the curriculum, then the chances are they will come out in that exam. The mastery of learning is making sure that our students hit that high success rate. And what are we as teachers doing to help facilitate that happening? So these are the 3 EdTech apps that I use on a regular basis to help my understanding of where my students are with those misconceptions, and are they hitting that 80% target or in and around that target for me to move on confidently and happily to the next stage of the curriculum. So the first I'm going to talk about is Quiz Is. I've got a link to the website on this presentation for you, but these are 3 quick snips from one of my reports. So you can see that I've set a retrieval task and it hit 75% success rate with 14 students. And this was done remotely. In class, if I was doing this, then obviously I would be up in the 28, 29 and having a full complement of student engagement. I've chosen one student here, anonymously, as you can see, and she's hit 45% accuracy, 9 correct answers, 11 incorrect answers. And that's where Quiz Is helps you test and challenge your students to see what their level of knowledge is like with their responses. So with this student, I will go into her question bank with quizzes. It's very simple, very easy to do. And you can see that the first incorrect answer came from question 4. So this tells me that there is a misconception with this student with understanding limited liability. So during my next lesson, I will need to ensure that she understands and she tries to master that element of the course on limited liability before we move on. Because at 45%, I am compounding the misconceptions and the gaps in her knowledge. So that's Quiz Is. Easy to set up, easy to use. There's thousands upon thousands of quizzes on there. Word of warning for you for best practice is before you send a quiz to your students that's already been made by somebody else, it's worthwhile just skimming and going through that quiz, just in case there are any human errors or any questions in there that you don't want to ask your students. But Quizzes is a very effective tool to help you understand if your students understand the concepts that you are teaching. The next one is Seneca. Again, there's a link to the Seneca website in the presentation. Seneca links to Google Classroom, so if you are a Google Classroom user, then that obviously makes your life a lot easier. You can see here that I set a Seneca assignment. Again, it's very easy to use. It is click and play. Seneca does have the whole of the Business Studies EdXL GCSE, which is obviously pertinent to my teaching, but to your teaching, it should also be there as well. You can see that this student hit 83%. So that just gives me another key indicator, along with quizzes, along with her book, along with everything else that I'm doing, to ensure that my students in my classroom that I'm accountable for give me the confidence that those misconceptions are limited, and using Seneca is a very, very easy way to do that. Thirdly is Quizlet. Now I've got 3 screenshots here to help you understand quickly if you've never used Quizlet before. Again, very easy to use, does link with Google Classroom. So if you are a Google Classroom user, again, this is going to cut down on your workload and be very, really effective very, very easily. I run quizzes. Now there are 5 or 6 elements to this, like flashcards where the kids can go away and learn in their own time. Then they come back into classroom, or once they're remote learning, that you can set a Quizlet quiz, again, to get another batch of data to help you understand if there are misconceptions with either a group of children or individual children, or generically it could be the whole group that have missed something and not quite understood. On the left-hand side of the screen, you can see that I'm setting an individual quiz. You can set a group quiz, if you will, very easy, put them into teams. It's just a click and play, a code comes up, and they can sign in either using a laptop, smartphone, or they can also use the Quizlet app itself. Again, it is very, very simple to do once you've gone onto the link that's on this presentation to set your groups up, to launch a quiz, and to analyze the data. Secondly, on Quizlet, what I do like, you can see from the middle picture, you can choose how you want the questions to be shown, whether you want definition and term or term and definition. Very easy, very simple, and very effective for you to get more data back about your children's understanding and mastery using Rosenshine's kind of principles of research on that 80% target. So I hope you enjoyed this video and I hope you got lots out of it. To go over what I've said, Rosenshine's principles, if you've not seen it before, you've not understood it before, you've not had a chance to look at it for your own pedagogy, then please do. This video was focusing on number 7, but it is understood that using a multiple of Rosenshine's principles is the most effective way. Thank you.